Okay, I think it's time we can get going. Okay, I've got everybody set up in the classroom. I think I've got 3 or 4 people watching from home, so I think we're ready to go. I put the link up late on Moodle. That was my fault. I forgot about that. But it's up there now. We're going to be moving on to, I believe it's lesson 11, integers and floats. We just finished string variables. You should have had assignment 11 string variables done. You actually should have had it done at the end of Thursday, but I wasn't here Friday, so you should have had that one done. Unfortunately, we only have 11 of those submitted right now, so we still need 11 more. Make sure you're submitting in Moodle as well as on Repellent. Moving on to integers and floats for lesson 11. This was relatively short, so we're going to do 2 lessons today. It's pretty easy. I have a video here of me doing it as well. If you want to watch that, I would recommend that you watch that as well, because anytime I teach the lesson, I sometimes find something different that I can teach, or a different way of explaining a concept. So you have to sit through that lesson anyway, so you may as well run that lesson in the background. I'm just opening up Repellent. Okay. So we instantiate integers and floats the same way we did with string variables. We give them a name, and then we give them a value right away. Okay, so when we start this one, we would say I equals 20, x equals 6.0. The variable is I and x. The value of I is 20. The value of x is 6.0. So I and x are the box. 20 and 6.0 are what we put in there. And we need to start focusing on data types a little bit more now. The data types that you've seen so far in Python is just strings. Okay? The data types we're dealing with now, an integer. An integer is any whole number, positive or negative. And in computer science, I talked about it last time, it goes to like 2 billion and something you can pick. From positive 2 billion to negative 2 billion is the range. But you have to remember that anytime you use an integer, anytime you create a variable as an integer, it will never display a decimal point. It will only ever display the whole number. So if the calculation you're doing with 2 integers is going to have a decimal point, the computer will drop that decimal point and only display the integer. Okay, so just be prepared for that. A float is something that you want to include a decimal point, and you can see it does that here with the 6.0. So when we start with this, we say print lesson 11. And then we want to create our variable of I equals 20 and x equals 6.0. Okay, so we have our 2 variables. Now, from that, we can now print those ones out. So we can say print x, print I plus x. Okay, and you remember we didn't need quotation marks because numbers are recognizable by computers. So we just have to instantiate the number. We don't have to put anything else to dictate what it is. Okay, so now we want to say print I and print x, and then let's throw in print, I don't know, let's leave it for there. So when I run this, I see my title print, I see my I value, and I see my x value, 20 and 6.0. Now, if I want to add the two of them together, I'm going to say print I plus x. And now when I run that one, I get 26. Because they're numbers, they can be printed together with no issue. Okay, so I have the same code here that I had printed in there. Now you can apply any operation to any number using the same function. I minus x, I times x, I divided by x. All right, and it will give you an example. Now this last one here, even though I is an integer, the product is going to be decimal points. Because one of those two is a float, it will display the decimal point. Okay? And Python, the newest version of Python, might even adjust that for you. And if you had two integers, one was 20, one was 60, you divided them, it might still display that one. But there is times when an integer will drop that decimal point, and there's times you want the integer to drop the decimal point. So just be prepared for it and double check it. But these are all the regular calculations that you can carry out. Now, as I've said multiple times, this is terrible code. The output is awful based on what I'm expecting from my students. This is good because it explains what we're looking at, but then there's just three numbers here. You have to remember that the user is stupid, the user is easily frustrated, and the goal is for the user to not be frustrated. So, why are they looking at these numbers? What are these numbers for? What do they represent? Okay? So, in order to do that, sorry, I'm going to back up. I'm going to cover what modulus is first. Okay? We use modulus in Python and Java. All modulus is there is a division that occurs, but it's not the same as division. With modulus, modulus outputs the remainder. So if I say print 5 modulus 4, it's going to output that remainder. The remainder of this division calculation is 1. So the output is going to be 1. Okay, so if I want to say print mod 5 modulus 4, and when I run that, you can see I get 1. 1 is the leftover number after the whole numbers have been divided together. Okay, so if I change this to say 35 modulus 34, I still get 1. It's going to be the same every single time. Okay, now if I say, let's go 24, and we'll say 12. When I run this one, those numbers divide fully equally. 12 fits into 24 exactly twice. So the remainder of that division calculation is 0, so that's the number that gets output. 0. Okay, if I do something like this, I'm going to get a bigger number left over. Because 13 fit into 24 one time, then there was 11 left. And 11, it doesn't divide partials. It doesn't give you the actual number of what 24 divided by 13 is. Like I said, it just gives you what's left over. It gives you the remainder. So the remainder in that calculation is 11. Okay, that is modulus. We don't spend a lot of time with modulus until later on, so it's not a huge deal. Now, going back to prompts and titles and explaining why we're looking at these numbers. The user's sitting here all frustrated because it's just looking at numbers and doesn't understand what those numbers are. Okay, so we want to include something to explain it. And we did this before with our strings. If we want to say the sum of I and x is, and I leave a space for it, and then I say, let's go plus, let's put it outside, plus I. All right, so I get an error. So what I've tried to do here is create a title or an explanation for what the user's looking at. I wanted the error to come up because I wanted to show you the idea behind trying to combine or concatenate two different data types. Okay, these are numbers, whatever they are, floats, integers, and this is a string. I'm trying to combine the string and the numbers, and it doesn't work. Okay, even if this wasn't a calculation and I just said 5, I'm still going to get an error because this is a different data type than this data type. And they just are not compatible with each other, so it throws back an error at me. Okay, and it says right here, can only concatenate string, not integer. So it's saying it can't combine strings and integers together. In order to do that properly, there's a couple of options, and we did go through them before already. So first of all, and this is a method you can get used to, you know there's an error on line 10. Okay? So rather than try and fix that error, I'm going to try again, but I don't want to lose the work I did here, just in case I want to use this again once I figure out what I did wrong. So I just commented out, and now I'm going to print a new statement, hopefully fixing my error. So if I go print, there's a couple options, and remember we did this one, x is, you know what, I'm just going to show you this one. So if I say x is, and I use those curly braces, and then I say dot format, and inside my methods parameters, I put x. Okay, so if you think back to that lesson we talked about where we were combining the strings together, this dot format method is the preferred way of combining so that you are giving the user a title for what they're looking at. So right now I'm just saying x is, and I'm leaving the curly braces in there. The computer knows, oh, okay, curly braces. I know what that means. It means that there's going to be a dot format, and it's going to give me the parameter that I want to put in there. And the next line is the dot format, and we tell the computer, go get x, put it in the curly braces. Okay, so when we run this, now it doesn't give us the error because we commented it out, and then it prints x is, finds the value of x, puts that in the box, and we're done. Okay, we can do the exact same thing for I. And now we've combined both of them together. Okay? That's the preferred method of concatenating those things together so that they're actually going to work. Okay? I have that all here. Okay, and there's the check for understanding. That is the end of that lesson. That is the basics of integers and operations. Assignment number 12, relatively easy one. Okay, so for this understanding, I want you to use calculations. I don't want you to just print the numbers directly. Have your program complete 20 calculations. All right, so the program should be 5 addition, 5 subtraction, 5 multiplication, 5 division. So 20 total, 5 of each. You can use variables. It would make it more efficient if you created 4 variables or 6 variables, and then you just had them add and then multiply and then subtract and then divide from each other. But you have to include the code that you would need to explain what the number is. When I run the program, I don't want to just see 20 numbers. I want to see the title explaining what that number is going to be. So this part would be a string, and this would be your calculation. Okay, from there, each 20 statements provide a modulus calculation of your choice. Have the result for each of those calculations printed as below. So after you have a product for each of those 20 calculations, then I want you to take and do 20 modulus calculations of your choice. I don't care. They could all be 5. It doesn't matter. I just want you to do 20 modulus calculations after you're done. Okay, from there, your top comments. You'd need calculation. You'd need comments throughout, as I've always spoken about. You'd probably have them along the lines of, here's my addition, here's my subtraction, here's my multiplication, here's my subtraction, and then here's my modulus calculations. All of those would be the comments that I would expect inside there. Questions? Okay, I'm going to do the next lesson very quickly. There's a quiz with it, but there isn't an assignment. So I'm going to say that this one can be due by the end of today. There's some people who are ending up a little bit behind, but if we want to be finished this in time, we need to move a little bit faster than we are. So I'm going to assign this one for today, which is the 17th, which means I'll be moving on tomorrow. This next lesson, I think it's 2 slides long. All it is user input. Okay, the first concept you have to remember when you're using user input is that the user's dumb. If you want them to input data, you have to tell them to input data. In order to do this, we need a prompt to do it. So all you have to do to allow a user to enter data into your program is use the command input. Then we prompt them after the input. So you can see here I've said, what is your name? That's probably not even enough. Okay, so if I come down here and I say print, oh no, so I've got to create the variable first. So if I say name equals input type your name. Okay, so it runs all these lines of code up to line 12. When it gets to line 15, it puts the prompt up, and it's saying to type your name. Now, I've typed my name, Baron, and I didn't do anything with that, so it doesn't really work. Well, sorry, it works, but it can't tell that it worked. So now instead, I'm going to say print name. So when I run it, I print my name, and then it prints my name for me after. Okay? This is probably not enough of a prompt for some users. Okay? Remember, we're always thinking that they're really, really dumb. So type your name. Okay, and then what? What do I do? So to give them the correct information, we say type your name and press enter. That would give them the information that they need to actually follow the program properly. Okay, and then I have something done with the name. So all I've done here is I've created a variable, and the value of that variable is going to be determined at a later date. The value of that variable is determined by the user inputting data. Whatever the user types after line 15 of code gets included as the value in name until they press enter. Okay, I believe that's everything. Oh, we can do the format name one. So we could say because we don't want to confuse the user. Why did you type my name twice? That doesn't make any sense. So we give it a prompt. Before it just said Baron. So I type my name Baron and then Baron pops up again. I don't understand. Why is it doing that? So we give it a reason for that variable to pop up, or the value of that variable to pop up. Okay, that is... We can do the same thing with numbers. We can ask it to enter a number, and then once it's entered a number, we can print that number. So let's change all this. We'll call it number equals input, enter a number. And then we're going to print number, and let's also print number plus number. Okay, so enter a number. I'm going to enter 5. Now it prints the number 5. That's all good. And then print number plus number 55. That's a mistake. That's obviously an error. What's happening here is we didn't tell the computer what to expect the input to be. We just said enter a number. We didn't say, hey, expect... Because the computer doesn't know that numbers are called numbers. It just knows what they are. So when the user enters something, the computer wasn't told, hey, these are going to be integers. So the computer just assumes, it's another string. So it prints 55 because it asked us to add number plus number. Well, the value of number was 5. So I'm going to print 2 of them side by side. If we want... What's up? Say it louder.
Sorry.
Okay. No, you don't have to knock. Just come in and sit down. Okay. So it doesn't say, it doesn't do the calculation for us. And what we want it to do is to do the calculation. So the problem is the computer doesn't know it's a number. It's treating it, if we want the computer to treat the user input as a number, we need to tell the computer that's it's a number. So we say int x equals int x. Then we can print it again. 1 second. Sorry, my other screen just froze. Sorry, give me 10 seconds. Why is that there? Okay, I'm just going to change it to this because I can't figure out where my error is here. Okay, that one worked better. I don't know what I'm doing wrong on this one up here. Oh no, that's not it, is it? Anyway, okay. So now that I have cast this input as an integer, so right here I got a value for x, I printed x, and then I printed x plus x. So I get the value entered is 5, it prints out 5, it adds 5 together as if it were a string. Then on line 24, I changed the value of the variable to an integer and said, hey, the stuff in here is going to be a number, computer. Treat it like a number. So it prints 5, and then it prints 5 plus 5 as the two values. Okay? I'm not sure why that's not working up here. I'm going to work on it after I've done the lesson, but if somebody sees my error, please feel free to tell me. In the end, I think that's the end of this lesson. That's user input in a nutshell. There's no assignment based on this one, but there is a quiz. I think it's only like 4 questions on user input, so I don't think it would take you that long to get it done. You still have an hour and a half to get through lesson 11, assignment 12, lesson 11B, and quiz 3B. I think that's more than enough time. I might push my lesson tomorrow till 9:30 just to give you a little bit of extra time to work, not because I think you need it, but because I am looking and there are a few people who have not completed that assignment, so I'm going to be nice. Normally this is more than enough time to get these assignments done. Okay, any questions?